Matteo Paolucci for the deck analysis of 58 Chaos League Online. Hello, Matteo.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Nice
So,
to be here.
nice to meet you too. Sorry for my bad English, but this time we try to make this deck analysis in English.
Yeah, I think this time we had a lot of foreigners, so I think it's fair for them to be able to join us in the deck analysis.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Uh,
something to try.
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
we will
yeah.
see.
Matteo is super skilled in English. I'm not so skilled, but I try to make this deck analysis.
No worries. I mean, we have to talk about magic, which is
Yeah, yeah.
our hobby, our
Eh,
passion for
yeah.
forever. So
In pratica farò parlare solo Matteo. You speak only. Okay. So start with the eighth place. Guybrush, Matteo Valesani, Guybrush, with this build.
yeah, it's very straightforward Lions deck. He decided not to play with black, so
Hmm.
no black. This way, it's way easier for him to include a couple of planes, basic planes,
Yeah,
because basically he doesn't need to splash basically any black lands, and
yeah,
also he can keep the number of City of Brass to two, which is for sure a plus, especially when you play a lean deck like this, which tends to be very aggressive and wants to not to stumble on mana, not to be able to play uh, their spells. So
yeah.
I think it's a good choice.
Yes, yes.
Uh, I think you for sure you lose some power level by not playing Demonic Tutor and
Hmm.
Mind Twist.
Yes.
At the end of the day, this is a double draw seven deck with Black Vice in the sideboard. So many times you just want to burn your opponent down. So
Yeah, of course. Remember to the others that this is Swedish rules.
yeah,
So we have the four factory, and Theo always play Lions deck. He always play this kind of deck.
yeah. I mean the deck is super solid.
Yeah.
Plays all the bombs and yeah. I mean if you this deck is at its best if you only face tier one decks. It
Mm-hmm.
tends to be very good against all um the against the deck and
Mm-hmm.
against other fully powered decks.
Yeah.
When it normally has more troubles is against aggressive decks, even unspoilered ones. Um, but again, it's a fully spoiler deck with balance and all the
Yeah.
power. I think you have a plan there, but for
Yes.
sure the green base deck are the worst
Yeah,
matchup for them.
of course, BG Green Terror. And
Yeah.
the main deck seems a really solid deck. Yeah, it's
We can
standard.
discuss. Yeah, I think there is basically two different ways of designing this deck. You can decide to play chain lighting
Mm-hmm.
or play more creatures and probably more counterspell.
Yeah, of course.
Um, I I think but this is just my experience. I think chain lighting is probably uh, the least power card that you can play in this deck. It's not a good card compared to Counterspell or Disenchant or Lightning Bolt,
Mm-hmm.
but very cohesive with the plan of burning your opponent down. And it's very synergistic with Time Twister and Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, of course.
So when I play these kind of decks, I tend to prefer playing the full amount of burn
Hmm.
uh, in place of more counter spells or even Sarah Angels.
Hmm.
Like
Yes.
I like the deck to be super lean into aggression and having more controlish cards in the sideboard A card that is very often present in the sideboard of these kind of decks is Suchi,
Mm-hmm.
because you sometimes you need more robust creatures post sideboard, especially against the decks that can Blood Moon you,
Yeah.
and Suchi ensures that. It's also, I mean, a tool that you can play against robots where it trades up with all their creatures, but you give them a target for copy artifacts, so it's a double-edged sword that you have to take into account. But
Uh,
yeah, in general, this shell is super solid and it's for sure one of the best decks in the format.
yeah, I think the same.
What do you think?
Maybe there is some different choice in the sideboard. I see some Stone Rain and Energy Flux.
Well, energy flux, I think it's something that becomes relevant and appealing when you, especially when you don't play black, because if you don't play black, you have less stones, you play less um, artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's better for you.
Mm-hmm.
You are less exposed where you can leverage the fact that you have less artifacts. And I mean, Energy Flux is extremely powerful card. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's not it's not played very often, but I think you can win games on the spot if you play when your opponent like plays a Jane Tome and taps down and you slam an Energy Flux. It's almost game over. Um, Especially if they pair it up with a lot of stones. So I think it's a very solid card.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Stone Rain, I think um, it's something that I mean I try to understand what is the target. I
Yeah.
think he might be targeting the Green Terrors deck
Mm-hmm.
because they play a lot of Maze of Ith, which is pretty annoying for this deck,
Yeah.
and they play Penalaven, which is annoying.
Yeah.
So it can be for those. Um, I don't think it solves your bad matchup for sure. I think you need a lot of Sarahs and probably cars that can shift the tides of the game more, like Armageddon, for
Mm-hmm.
example. But it's for sure a more flexible card because Stone Rain, I mean, can be played during the game. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's an interesting choice.
Maybe Matteo will try this kind of card. Maybe he
Yeah, yeah.
test Stone Rain, but it's a good point. Your is a good point for sure. Okay, so go ahead and let's view the seventh place. Uh, is my the deck.
Yeah, this is you.
Yeah, yes, I am.
I mean, you should describe this.
This is
It's a child.
always my deck, no change.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's a world champions deck, yeah. But this time I lose with you, I think.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Mm-mm.
I think I got pretty lucky in our games, but
Shit
in
happens.
general, I think your deck is it's weaker um, on the over the three games against the burn decks,
Yeah.
but it's stronger against all the mid-range decks and the creature decks
Yes.
because you don't play Ivory Tower main deck, but you play the Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
So like against the deck like mine, I only had like four creatures or five, I don't remember, but not a big number of creatures and a lot of burn.
Yeah.
So I think you cannot punish me much with the Abyss, which is a clunkier card, and you don't have life gain in the main deck except for Divine Offering and Mirror Universe.
Of course. Yeah.
Um, So I think that was the main point and the main axis of victory that I had against you. Um, I think Spell Blast is an interesting choice and something that people won't play around for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Always people ask me about Spellblast. This is an Morrone intuition. It's
mm,
a good counter because I want to stop the first threat of opponents, something like lions, ancestral, black vise, because this deck is stronger in the mid late game, so I want to cover the first turns. This is the the goal of the spell blast.
yeah, I agree. I think in general, the deck um, is weaker against the early threats and the cheap spells
Mm-hmm.
compared to the high mana cost spells like Sarah Angel, which is a very scary card against a lot of decks. You probably don't care too much. I mean, you have a lot of answers for that. Sure, you can lose to a Sarah Angel, but in general, I think you are not afraid of like I tap six Triskelion or I tap five Angel.
Yeah.
I think if we take out the X spells, so a very, very big fireball against a big mana deck, or obviously Mind Twist, uh, Spell Blast can actually be considered superior to Power Sync
Yeah.
in your deck
Yeah.
because you can definitely target the spell that you want to counter, no matter how mana your opponent has. If you have to fight, for example, in a counter war, with you know that with three mana you have an additional counter spell,
Yeah.
which is something
Yeah. This
that
is the point. Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah.
the difference is
And maybe in the very late game you can as well counter a big spell with spell blast. Maybe.
yeah, you can. You definitely can. I think, from my point of view, I love Power Sync. I'm a huge fan of Power Sync, but I love Power Sync in those decks that actively want to resolve a game-winning spell
Yeah.
on their turn. So, for example, I love Power Sync in decks that play Armageddon
Mm-hmm.
because basically I play something in your turn, we start a counter war, and then you cannot like if you fight, you will fall to the bait because I will tap you out in any way,
Mm-hmm.
or you have to counter back, and then I untap and play Armageddon, and that's really powerful. But with the deck, if we take out Mind Twist, you probably don't have these to do this. So I think Spell Blast can be better.
Yeah, sometimes with Power Sync, you can play some Phantomagic sequence because you can do swords in the opponent's turn, Power Sync your swords, and drain your Power Sync using all your mana, and then you untap, you add the mana of drain of your power sync, and then cast a fireball. But this is a really Phantomagic.
It seems like a sequence that win a game that you already won. To be
Yeah.
honest, I mean, if you can do this, probably your opponent is
Yeah, 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 yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, of course.
yeah.
Okay,
But
so
yeah,
the okay the deck is this, always the same. So we can go for the sixth place, Sebastiano Buscaglione, with this deck.
it's a burn deck.
Yeah, it's similar to your deck.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's definitely similar. Um, the main difference is so he's playing 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 25, um, 25 mana
Mana
sources.
source, yeah.
which for a deck like this, I think it's a little too few. I played 27, but I mean, um, I think if you want to play counter spells, brain geysers, and the likes, I think you need to play less spells and more mana.
Yeah.
Also, he is playing a single black vice. Am I right?
Yeah, it's one black vice. Yeah, single
One black.
black vice.
Hmm. So basically, he is playing a more compared to the deck that I play. He's playing probably the most aggressive shell that you can play uh, for uh, for Sedge Troll. So this is the most aggressive shell for Trollburn.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the archetype is super under the radar and it's super strong. Um, but I think one of the biggest draw to the deck is not to play cards that you normally play in aggressive decks that have huge drawbacks. And one of those cards is Serendipity Befreet. I think Serendipity Befreet is very strong,
Yeah.
but tends to be sideboarded out very often
Yeah.
because there are a lot of cards that are good against Serendipity Befreet, Maze of Ith, Spirit Link, Red Elemental Blast, and all the 4/4s in the format, which are many. And it can simply be raced against aggressive decks. So when you have a deck with City of Brass, Psionic Blasts, and Serendipity Befreet, the damage tend um, to add up, and it can punish you against other aggressive decks.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like to play Serendipity Befreet, and I love to play more. I mean, simple creatures like Utden Troll or even Shivan Dragon
Yeah.
in these kind of decks because they basically have no drawback. So the power level is lower, but they have no drawback. Another reason why I think Serendipity Befreet biggest strength is the mana cost. So basically, it's one of the most efficient creatures stat-wise in the format, probably the most efficient creature alongside Savannah Lion. So I like Serendipity Befreet a lot in decks with 5 Moxens. So I recently play at the Ryder Cup a deck with Serendipity Befreet and 5 Moxens, and it was very powerful because, of course, when you can play Serendipity Befreet very fast, it's a threat. It's for sure a big threat.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here, I play this shell a lot, and with only 3 Moxens, uh, the deck it tends to play a slower game. And when I want to play a slower game, I don't want Serendipity Befreet. Another difference between this deck and mine is basically that he wants to play the full burn counterspell
Yeah.
suit. So he decided not to play the discs and the Maze of It combo. So it's basically less mid-rangey and more burn.
Yeah.
I think this is also something that, I mean, both are completely viable. Both are very strong. But I think that the combo of Sedge Troll Disc and Maze of It is almost unbeatable against some decks. Like against robots, is really good. Against all the mid-range deck is super strong. So I think having access to those cards is a huge draw to the deck against like playing a Lions deck or a more
Yeah, I
aggressive.
super agree. This is more similar to an aware counterbarn,
Yes,
but with the troll.
with stronger creatures. Basically, it's the difference is I started from the regular Sedge Troll build, control-ish one, and I said I can never beat the deck if I don't add burn, right?
Yeah.
This deck, on the other hand, is basically Ollerade's deck,
Mm-hmm.
where he said, okay, but I want to play a real creature, not the fucking orcs,
Yeah.
and I want to play Sedge Troll.
Yeah.
So I think this reasoning is also correct, and
Yeah.
it's also good, and it's a very strong, it's a strong deck for sure.
Yes.
The only suggestion that I can give is play more lands because 25 is, in my opinion, is not enough for this deck.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, I'm agree. Yeah. Maybe
But
something more
in the
is
side,
better.
in the sideboard, there's a very fancy card which is Mana Barbs, which I love.
Yeah. Super
It's not
cool, Manabarbs. Yeah.
not heavily played, but it's very, very annoying. If you don't have a disenchant immediately, it's really taxing.
Hmm. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Luca Caraffa play Mana Barbs versus me in a Marche tournaments, and it was very annoying.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Other cards we have Gloom, we have City One City in a Bottle, two
Yeah,
Blue Elemental Blast, and of course the Nevineural Disc. Yeah.
that's, I think the main, the strangest thing to me is that he's only playing one Black Vise. Like,
Yeah.
I, wa- I wasn't playing Black Vise in the main deck because I think Black Vise main deck is very bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in the 75, if you play an aggressive deck, you might want to access more Black Vise because of how good they are against specifically the deck, and
Mm-hmm.
especially when they side in their highway towers against you.
He,
So I
he,
think,
he believe in the heart of the cards.
yeah, 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 yeah. The point is that you have double draw sevens, you have a lot of burn, and I mean, Black Vise is really powerful here.
If I'm not wrong, I see maybe 61 cards main deck, maybe.
Maybe it's 1934 plus 27. Yes, it's 61. Maybe it's the 61st.
So
Uh,
I think he don't find space for more black eyes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, Gloom is a card that can be pretty annoying.
Yeah, but I don't like it so much.
I never play Gloom, but I mean, I understand why people play Gloom. Um I think Gloom is strong if you have more cards to tax opposing mana,
Yeah.
like in mono blacks where you have sinkholes and you have more copies of Gloom, it can be very threatening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
a single Gloom on the field, generally, it's not enough.
This is the point. The perfect. This is the point. For my experience, only one gloom on board isn't enough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
I
you,
agree.
you need at least two gloom to be good. Maybe three sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I don't like it so much.
But it's also,
Hmm?
we are of course analyzing all the details, but in general, this deck is really good and it's really powerful. So
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, okay. Compliments, complimenti a Sebastiano. Go ahead. Attilio Bragantini is the five. Wait a moment.
yeah,
Visual stack. Okay, the five Attilio Bragantini with the Braga deck.
yeah. This is basically Lauter deck,
Yeah.
right? So like we saw a lot of changes in this shell. Um, Stabbing started playing Suchis instead of Serendipity Freeds.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which make the deck more robust in general, and for sure better against decks, base green decks and the likes. In general, this deck is very lean, it's very efficient, and is for sure very strong.
Yeah.
I think the lack of red makes it I mean, much harder for you to beat the deck.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
gen- General, if they manage to resolve early lions, then it's really hard for you to win. Um, but this shell is, from my experience, is very strong against everything else,
Yeah. Yes. I
especially
agree.
especially if you respect the green decks in your sideboard, which
Hmm.
by the way he doesn't.
Yeah.
But when I do play decks like this, I always play like Wrath of God, Preachers, even Prodigal Sorcerers in my
Yeah.
sideboard, because I think that it's really hard um, to beat the green decks. A card that is very nice to have is the third Sarah. I
Okay.
think it's pretty good in this deck, and this deck can be very explosive because, as you can see, it plays all the Moxens, so it can, and all the counters. So counter spells, mana drains, power sink. If you have an early Sarah and you untap, it's pretty much GG.
Yeah.
So I think the third Sarah is really good. This is something that I share uh, many times, but there are different opinions. And apparently, when I talked to Javier Dominguez, it was it was thinking against what I'm saying, so he's probably right. But I don't like time twisters in these kind of decks. I think most of the time it will be, I don't know, you will give too much to your opponent because, I mean, your opponent either plays a control deck or an aggressive deck, or, I mean, there are not so many decks that you can punish by giving them seven new cards.
Yeah.
And the cards that you will be drawing are mid-rangey, like mid-range creatures, counters. You cannot leverage much
Mm-hmm.
from a time twister. Of course, time twister is a very powerful tool to recoup against an opposing mind twist or balance. So I understand the reason, but I normally don't play it.
Yeah, there is a nice touch card for sideboard that tested by Andrea Pironi for the BG Green Terrors deck, and
Yeah.
it's Holy Light.
Yeah, I think Holy Light is probably even better than Wrath of God
Yeah.
against those. The point, and I remember I talked to Andrea about this. I think Wrath of God is more like we face robots. Of course, we bring Wrath of God in, right? We face, I don't know, decks with Urnams and big creatures. You can always have Wrath of God in, and it can be a blowout. Uh, on the other hand, the Holy Light is only good against these weenie decks that are
Yeah.
not so common. So if you specifically want a card against Green Terror or Green decks, that's probably the best card, but it's not the best card in terms of flexibility.
No, no, of course, but is a specific card for
Very good.
Green Terror match, and in that match,
Yeah,
it's supreme cards. It's
yes, it's really good.
incredible strong. Yeah.
The reason why I tend to prefer cards like Preacher or Prodigal Sorcerer
Hmm.
for improving these kind of decks in sideboarded games is one thing that I found out is the problem against those decks is not just to clear their board, is to actually win the
To win
game.
the game. Yeah.
Because if you see this deck, I mean, you don't have Fireball. So you cannot close the game with direct damage, right? Unless they are like at 8 and you double psionic blast them, but it's not very probable.
Mm-hmm.
So they play a humongous number of Maze of Ith, and you only have a few creatures. So the problem is basically how do we kill them?
Yeah.
So card that I want in this deck, either one in main deck, and if not one in the sideboard, is Armageddon. Because when I have a creature, I want to be able to shut down all
Yeah.
your land,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's really the way to,
You need to kill the maze of it. This is the point.
so Armageddon is one, Preacher is another one, because I mean you cannot win if I have a Preacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will just get your creatures and chump block every time, and the combat is really complicated, and that's without talking about Timmy, because I think Prodigal Sorcerer is almost unbeatable. I mean, they have to immediately terror it, or it's almost GG.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like these very weird cards against the deck. But
And
again,
Timmy is a poetic card.
Timmy is actually, I don't think it's just a poetic card. It's a very strong
It's
card that
strong. Yeah.
people don't play. It's really good. I remember when I was testing against Andrea Bianconi,
Uh-huh.
he was playing the deck, and I was piloting an unpowered deck, like an Arabian aggro, and we were trying different cards, and since I think that Arabian aggro is weak against green terror, I had the Timmys in the sideboard, right? And amongst the different changes that we made, uh, I also tested the Timmys against the deck. I won so many games because it was playing like Moat, and I had double Timmy. He couldn't do anything. And he had like one game, he had Moat and Silk Road Protection red. He had double. You know, there were in a lot of spots, having a creature that can ping direct damage is very powerful in old school.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Of course.
um, and so, but by the way, I think to close up, I think this deck is very good, and the fact that it's so good against a lot of decks, basically only the deck and green decks are the
Yeah.
weak matchups. You can focus against those a lot in the sideboard because you don't have to focus on much else.
Yeah.
You are good against everything else.
I agree. I agree. Control is hard matchup
Yeah,
due to the power of red element. The red
yeah,
and the red blast are really strong in this
yeah.
kind of matchup. Yeah.
I think control is the worst matchup, and I mean, you can have Black Vice as Attilio was playing in the sideboard, but the fact that you are not the red deck and you don't have direct damage, I
Mm.
mean, you can have those. You can deal even 10 damage to your opponent, but
And
then you close with creature.
this is a point, but another point is that in the Swedish meta there are a lot of artifact destroyer. So you put in the black wise, but in the match there are a lot of disenchant and divine offering because the Mishra's factory is the most powerful creature of the format. So
Yeah,
you put in some other artifact, but the deck have the solutions, and you have really it's very hard. You are very difficult to resolve your bombs like Brengeyser, Ancestral, maybe Mind Twist. There are the cards that win this kind of game.
yeah. I think the main card that I find missing in this list, which by the way is really good by Attilio, is actually Armageddon, because we mentioned the green decks and we mentioned control,
Yeah,
and Armag- Armageddon is good against both.
yeah,
And you also play the power sinks, and you remember what we said, I mean, before. one play that you can have is having a bait spell and keep a fight with the power sink against the deck, and when they tap out, you Armageddon them. That's a way you can think of winning the game.
Yeah, yeah, of course, is a good plan. Maybe another way is because this deck usually side out the swords because the deck have really few creatures, and so
Yes.
when the deck plays Sarah Angel, usually it's a problem because you have really few cards to fight the angel.
Yeah, but at the same time, you have you keep the psionic blasts,
Yeah,
and
but the psionic match the reb.
yeah, yeah, it's true, it's
So
true.
yeah, maybe this deck he can try to side in the Maze of It because with the Maze of It you can control the angel, and as well you can attack with your factory like a BG Green Terror that attack with his pieces and use Maze for untap versus the blocker.
I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it will work because the reason why that plan is good in the green decks is that they play so many creatures
I
that
know. Yeah, yeah, I know.
100% of the time you will be attacking with at least two creatures.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you have a Sarah Angel, you block one, I untap that, you take one, you take two, and
yeah.
I kind of cheap you out in this way, especially if I have two or more Mazovith. But here is really hard to do the same with the
Yeah,
few creatures.
you have few creator for of course, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I played this deck a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Uh, I don't think there's a clean way to resolve the deck problem. I think you will always be an underdog in that matchup.
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah, of
not
course.
much you can do.
Yes, yes, I think the same. Is of course is always an hard matchup for this kind of deck. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay, let's go to see the four place is Maciej Filiński from Poland, and
Yeah.
with this deck. Oh, nice deck. I lose from Maciej in the Swiss.
This is great. I mean, this is the deck that I was playing when I was a kid, and
It's basically this is a Minstone deck. You can see the four Minstone. So it's a Minstone deck with a transformational sideboard.
the transformational sideboard with the big dudes is I think it's some the Polish signature because they love to do this.
Yeah.
When I faced them in Bologna, there was another guy playing. It wasn't a millstone deck; it was the deck basically
Mm-hmm.
without. And game two, he played like double Jurami turn up, and I said, "What the hell is this?" Like,
It's incredible.
it's a good fly.
With this kind of sideboard, you can't lose from control from the deck because the deck side out all his removal and you put in all your creatures is a total
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
disaster.
I think it's really interesting. I love the idea of having a transformational sideboard
Yeah.
and having your opponent guess what's going on. I think the strongest deck that can do this is Tweedlevolt
Mm-hmm.
because against Tweedlevolt, their main plan is so strong that you have to play all your like disenchant effects, all your divine offerings, all these kind of cards. And when they basically side all out for all the creatures, the Serendibs and the Urnams and these creatures, you are basically fucked because you will be spammed by disenchants in your hand.
Yeah.
I remember when Marco Schiausa was playing that deck and I lost many times against him. because okay, the first time you lose and you cannot do anything because you will never know that he has this kind of a sideboard. But let's say we have a game three. What do you do?
Yeah,
It's not easy to
it's not
decide.
easy. It's not easy. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, and for
Y-
you, like the worst that can happen for you is like you leave the main plan and your opponent has decent chance, or you put in the creatures and your opponent has the removals. But
Yeah,
I mean, then you will just play a regular game of Magic. So it's a really clever way to play the game. Of course, by doing this, you are deciding not to have more cards that you can have, like more disenchants against robots or more, I don't know, more cards against specific matchups. But in general, you have a very proactive plan that I liked a lot.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Then, not sure how strong is the meal plan game one against, I don't know, aggressive random decks. Sure, you have moat. But
yeah.
I
Wrath of God.
think,
Yeah,
yes, but if you play against aggressive decks, I think you are unpressed to find these cards very fast
yeah.
because Millstone kills very slowly.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you manage to set up the Field of Dreams and the Millstones and the likes, then
It's
you can start grinding out your opponent. But
yeah.
it's a total.
Moonstone and Field of Dreams is really really powerful. It's like it's really like Kappa Balance, the old combo legacy, and you can counter all the opponents minacce, insomma, threats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I think
Uh,
what I don't understand in the deck is a little bit the mana base because he is playing even less colors than a regular at the deck. But despite this, he's not playing any basic land. And for this reason, I think the deck can. I mean, sure, under Blood Moon, you can play Mill, but without being able to play your spells, you will die. So I think the deck is very weak to Blood Moon, at least until you have your Blue Elemental Blasts online
yeah,
from the side.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I would consider having a little bit more basic lands.
Yeah.
I think the idea of playing only three disenchant is very clever because a high number of disenchants is normally considering cards like the Abyss, um, or even Jane the Tome against this deck is for sure good, but less good than if you have a creatures deck. But at the same time, if you play less disenchants, you are weaker against Blood Moon, and
Mm-hmm.
so
Yes.
okay, I can understand you are playing less disenchants, but then you have to look at your mana base and play
Okay.
more base.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Okay. I think you are right.
Yeah.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm, 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 mm.
for the rest, I think yeah, he played a great deck, and
Yeah,
I mean
it's nice. It's a very solid list. All the restricted, the counter spell, the disenchant, the swords, all the rock, the mana, Field of Dreams, library, and four Millstone. So it's pretty solid deck.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like it so
I
much.
yes, it's really good.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, good perform because he hit the semifinals.
Yes. What did he lose to?
I think he lose from Seveso.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Not a really good matchup, maybe.
No, I don't think so.
Yes, because you win against Morone. I
Yes,
think, yeah.
yes.
Mm, 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 mm. Okay, let's see the other semifinalists, the Andrea Morrones deck. Here
Yep.
we are, another controls. You are the killer of the controls in this tournament.
Yeah, but we will. I mean, we will talk about that. But uh, I honestly, I love this deck. I
Mm-hmm.
love this list, and I mean, no offense, but I I prefer this list to yours,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I believe that having creatures in general is I mean the abyss plan is stronger um, in terms of how many decks you can target, but against the good decks, I think this list is even better
Yeah,
because the
yeah, yeah.
ability to sometimes play a fast Sarah and untap with a counterspell and win on the spot is
Mm-hmm.
also very threatening.
You are
Uh,
right, but I'm not able to play creatures.
yeah, no, no, no. I mean, I'm just saying that I think both lists have their merits.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, I like double fireball because you have
mm-hmm.
more outs to kill an early lion.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
I think it's good. Um, Red Elemental Blast is for sure uh, a tech card,
Yes.
and as a
Always have a target, maybe.
yes, and as a seasoned uh, the deck player, Andrea is also playing Time Twister as our world champion Javier Dominguez. So
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I think he's right if he says so, but yeah. I
Mm.
mean, Time Twister is one of those cards that can basically win the game. Like in a deck with so many uh, fast mana, so much fast mana, you can have those stars when you have land, double moxen, lotus,
Mm-hmm.
time twister, tap, time walk, and basically the game is over.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have new hand with 7 random cards. You might not even have lands. And I basically placed 3 to 4 permanents on the first turn on the field. So yes, Time Twister can win games, that's for sure. But on the other hand, I think the deck is has its worst matchups against 12 bolts decks,
Yeah.
decks that have a lot of direct damage, and against those decks, it's very rare that you can afford to give them 7 cards. So this is my reasoning not to play Time Twister, but again, I'm not the deck player, so
Mm, you can. I think you can play it, and you can play it. Are all good point. In this moment, there are few black buys in the meta, so Time Twister is okay. You can play it maybe. I don't like to give new 7 cards to my opponent. I don't like that I can open a really bad hand and my opponent can see a stronger hand. But anyway, I think that you can play Twister building some place. So you can not cast only the Twister, but you can, for example, cast a Twister after a time walk. So you
yeah,
cast a Twister and untap and have another turn to cast some other spell, demonic, mind
yeah.
twist, something else.
I mean, the card is obviously busted. It's a power 9 card, so
Yeah, of
it's
course.
pretty good. But and also one point that we didn't mention is that Time Twister reshuffles your graveyard.
Yeah,
On average, your the power level of your deck is superior to most
yeah.
of the decks in the format, so the cards that you are reshuffling are better than your opponent.
Yes.
Plus, every Swords to Plowshares that you played basically removed one of their creatures from the game, and those creatures will never be shuffled again in the deck.
Yeah.
So that's another point in favor of Time Twister. But I mean, my reasoning is only based on matchmaking. I
Yeah.
think if you want to beat the deck, you should play 12 bolts decks. And against specifically those decks, I don't want Time Twister in my deck. So
Hmm.
it's probably a safe pick to have in your sideboard because it can be good, like against more mid-rangey strategies. But I think Andrea has another card that I love in the sideboard, which is Mana Short.
Yeah. It's
It's really, really
powerful
nice.
cards. Mana short.
I
Yeah.
think in the mirror, it can be a mirror breaker for sure.
Yeah. 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 This break the mirror a lot.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, the sideboard is really good.
Uh-huh.
All the basically the cards that are missing in the main, so the fourth disenchant, all the ivory towers that you also have.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he has access to the abyss, so he decided to play the creatures in the main deck and the abyss in the sideboard, which
Yeah.
is a very it's an interesting take because it's not something that people would expect, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If they see a creature main deck, maybe they don't expect you to bring out a couple of abyss in from the sideboard. I think Spirit Link is good, although I tend to prefer Spirit Link in decks like Ernemgeddons or those decks where you have double targets, so you can target opposing creatures or your creatures.
Yeah.
And while this deck has only two Serras, so it's mildly unlikely that you can play it on your creature. But yeah, for sure, having ways to gain life is fundamental.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he have a few way to recover life in main deck. Because
Yeah,
he haven't the mirror universe, but he have the syringe. So
you can
if
sort it.
he is in difficulty, he can worse his
Yeah,
syringe
yeah, that's
maybe,
true. Yeah,
but it isn't easy. It's not
yeah,
really easy.
yeah. And
Uh,
he decided, same as you, he's not playing the Fellow Stones.
yeah, yeah,
It seems like nobody in Italy is playing Fellow Stones in the deck.
yeah. We remove them a lot of time ago because more lands and more basic lands are better than Fairwestone.
Yeah, can be true, definitely.
Yeah, you are a little slower, yes, of course, but you are pretty solid.
Yeah, I think the Italian meta is respects Blood Moon a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
it's not. I think it's not. It's not. If you see the deck list that we saw,
Hmm.
the only deck list that was not respecting Blood Moon was the one of what's the name of the player? I don't remember of Machiev.
Hmm.
He was the only one not respecting Blood Moon. All the other ones you can see a lot of basic lands. Um, it's hard to be a Blood Moon deck in Italy for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But speaking a moment about the metagame, there aren't so many Blood Moon in the top decks in the last tournament, I think.
There are no Blood Moon decks because I think I can tell you I love playing Blood Moon. I love catching people off guard. But the point is, in Italy, you will not catch people off guard.
Hmm.
People will play a lot of basics.
Yeah, is
They
too
fear the card.
is too much respect the Blood Moon in
Yeah,
Italy.
there's a lot of respect for the card that makes hard to play a deck because if you look at, for example, at the deck that played by Olle Rade in the you won the art with, I mean, that deck is good if Blood Moon is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise you are playing a 2/2 orcs, you are playing a deck that is quite low in power level compared to the other decks,
Yeah.
but under a Blood Moon, everything is good. That's the point. So the
It's interesting to see how as well the Robos deck switch the red with the white.
yes, so that's
There
the
are more robot decks with the white, some shell like Stebo deck or more robot deck with the white instead of robot deck with the red, with the
yeah.
blood moon and the red.
I remember the first. I mean, when we started see that, I think it was Jordi playing
Yeah,
that kind of deck,
yeah, yeah.
and I think that kind of deck is very powerful. I mean, the robots with white,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's way worse against control. So if you play against control, I think the having access to red means that you can have fireballs, you can have red
Yeah,
elemental blocks,
yeah,
and
yeah.
these are very very
But at the
hard.
same time, disenchant is really good.
But disenchant, but for what
Because
specifically?
you cannot lose by only one card that is Mot.
Yes, it's only moat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's the only card that you lose to is moat.
yeah.
So I think there are a couple cards that they can play against moat. I'm not saying that they are good, but I mean you can play a couple cards to try to remove it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean they are not super good, but you can play the discs or cards like this. I'm not
Yeah.
saying, but my point is different. My point is if I play a robot deck, there are not many enchantments that I want to target because I mean the abyss is basically blank paper.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
mm, normally I play Blood Moon myself. So if people play Blood Moon against me, I can play all the creatures. So it's not a big deal. So what else? There's only Moat, and Moat is a card that is playing normally in singleton
Yeah.
in very few decks. So I think despite White being probably 100% the strongest color in old school, I think for the robots deck that is already pretty robust against the mid range and the aggressive deck, but it's weaker against control. I prefer the builds like builds that are either with burn, so
Mm-hmm.
like the BB8 like Bep attack style decks,
Yeah.
Blood Moons and Psionic Blast, Lightning Bolts, and the likes,
Yeah.
or builds that are more grindy, like the Brooder
The
deck,
brooder. Yeah.
which is capable of grinding a lot because they can play Latnam sages, so you have to deal with the sage of Latnam.
Yeah.
Then they if you destroy one of their creatures, they have the what's the name? Animate dead. They
Yeah.
can animate creatures, so they can grind you out, and they play all the power, but they have red elemental blast. That's the point. When you start sideboarding and you have to resolve the powerful spells, when you have to stop opposing brain geysers, you need red.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will lose all the fights on the stack. You will lose. That's my point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I normally prefer
It's a
to
good
play.
point, of course. Yeah.
But again, yeah, that's a very strong deck
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
It's really popular in America in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have it here, right?
Okay, congrats to Morrone. And so we go to the finalist, and I'm speaking of you, Matteo Paolucci, the finalist.
Yeah, this is my deck. I lost to Morrone in the Swiss, and then I won
Mm-hmm.
against him in the semifinals, and with Andrea Seveso in the final, it happens the opposite. I won against him in the Swiss, but I got destroyed in the final. It was like 5 minutes match where
Yeah.
my deck really didn't cooperate much, but I mean, I think he has a very good deck. He plays it very well because he's one of those players that always play the same deck. The list is very fine tuned, and so I think the final showcase of what a good Ernemgeddon can do against an opponent that stumbles. If you stumble, that deck will stomp you. There's no way you can recover. So yeah, but anyways, in this tournament, I decided to play my beloved Troll Burn deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, compared to the deck that I top forward the one of the last events in Bologna. It was the Four Seasons. Back then, I was playing one less counterspell,
Mm-hmm.
one less Shatter,
Yeah.
one less Shivan Dragon, and one less Mox Jet.
Okay.
And I was playing for Chain Lightning.
Ah, okay.
So my deck was more burnish in the main deck.
Mm-hmm.
But what I find out is that the deck is a deck is very strong, but it's a deck where I love to win sideboarded games because it's easier than other decks to, I mean, to side against too. So I think this deck, if you play more controlish creatures like Shivan Dragon, you play a couple of Mazovith and Nerennial Discs in the main, plus more in the sideboard. This deck is very strong against all the mid-range deck.
Yeah.
It's really strong. And you also have a shot to beat the deck because you play quite some number of burn.
Yeah.
Uh, then what I decided to do is to having a switch here in the sideboard where I play the Chain Lightning, the 4 Black Vise, and the Wheel of Fortune in the sideboard, not in the main deck.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I want to mention is I don't think you have to play draw 7 cards blindly in your deck. A deck like this is very mid-rangey, and the mid-game of this deck is super strong. So it's very likely that in the mid-game, I don't want at all to give you more cards. I think the top of my deck is good, and I don't want to give you more cards to my opponent. So
Yeah.
unless I switch to the full burn plan with the Chain Lightnings and the Black Vise, I don't want to draw 7s. And even then, if you see, I only play one draw 7, only
Yeah.
Wheel of Fortune.
On Wheel of Fortune. Yeah.
And the reason is that I don't want to reshuffle your Ivory Towers,
Ah.
cards like that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
want to reshuffle those for you. So once they are destroyed, you have to play your own Time Twister if you
Mm-hmm.
want to draw them again,
Yeah.
right? So I think this plan for me worked very well, and it was the deck was actually pretty strong against the creatures decks,
Mm-hmm.
and was clearly very good when you side against the deck and you can remove like the heavy cards like Shivan Dragons and maybe some trolls and more,
Mm-hmm.
and put in all the burns against the deck because
Yeah.
basically you become a totally control deck with a lot of burn. You just only deal with their with the specific cards that they play,
Mm-hmm.
and then and that's pretty much it, right? You
Yeah.
don't have to do anything else. So yeah, I think I will play this deck again for sure, and I think the strategy is pretty good. The only thing I would change is I would not play again two Shivan Dragons in the main deck,
Mm-hmm.
because despite having added the 27th mana, because I think I prefer to die in Flood than to die
It's
in
true.
and I think when you have a fully powered deck, it's really hard that you flood. It's way easier to be screwed than flooded.
Mm-hmm.
So I think despite this, um, I think 6 mana is a lot. And I really much welcome another creature that you can play in the mid game, like the troll.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, my latest iteration of the deck, I removed one Shivan Dragon for a Utden troll.
Uten troll. Yeah.
I think Woodland Troll is a criminally underplayed card, which
Mm-hmm.
is very good, and it has a similar role of Shivan Dragon.
Yeah.
Basically, playing Shivan Dragons, and especially playing two, was I mean, my plan against the Blood Moon decks was okay, I sandbag my Shivan Dragon, I will not play it. As soon as you play your Blood Moon, I slam a Shivan Dragon and you're dead. That's the the main point. So I think, of course, there's a difference in power level between Shivan Dragon and
Of
Utden
course.
Troll,
Yeah.
but if your opponent plays a Blood Moon and you play a Utden Troll, they will have a very big headache, because I mean, that guy is really annoying.
Yeah.
Is really annoying, especially because the weakness of Utdentron is Mishra's Factory.
Mm-hmm.
So once a Blood Moon is in the field, basically you can attack it every turn with that, and if they block with the big creatures, maybe you can bolt it. So in general, I like it a lot, and it's another creature that synergizes with your Never Neural Disc.
Yeah.
I also changed the sideboard in my last in my last list. I think I removed what did I remove? I don't remember, but I added another disc for sure. So I am playing now two discs in
Okay.
uh, in the sideboard.
So
So
so you
overall, I
yeah
have four discs.
yeah you
Yeah,
have the full set main and side. Yeah.
it's too strong. Honestly, it's too strong.
Mm-hmm.
It's too strong.
Yeah.
I mean, people are used to play against decks that have four disenchants and three divine offerings and the likes. But the point is, you will not have the disc against those decks. You will have the disc against decks like robots,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, the green decks, or any mid-range deck.
Yeah.
So strong. I mean, when you play it and they don't have a disenchant, they clearly are in a spot where it will be very hard for them to win the game, because the point is you don't have to blow the disc immediately. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Never Near is different than Chaos Orb. It will work anyways.
Yeah.
So once you on top, you control the game.
Yeah.
That's the point.
That's the
So
point. Yes. I agree.
basically, this deck is super strong, uh, because now that you play Burn Spell, you basically remove the only weakness that the deck had, which was control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now that you can beat control with Burn, the deck has very few weaknesses. That's the main point. The only weakness maybe is that you only play three Moxens, so you are a little bit slower than
Yeah.
other decks.
Yeah. 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 Of course.
But
But
that's
anyway, you can open some solid, slow but solid hand.
course. And the reason why I don't like having an Emerald Disc against control is because they can gain 4 life with Divine Offering
Yeah,
on
of
it.
course.
And it's also one of the reasons why I have Slate of Mind in my
Mm-hmm.
sideboard,
Yeah,
because you need some cards to interact with the cop red. So I think Slate of Mine it can be very game breaking if they play a cop red and you change the color. And in all the other cases, you can fight against a red elemental blast or a blue elemental blast on the stack.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah,
Okay, okay. So we can go to see the winner.
yeah,
Okay. So congratulations to Andrea Seveso that win with this deck. I ask sorry to who see the videos for this version of cards.
yeah. It's I mean, some of the cards are and
I know. This is a crime. Okay,
but anyways,
but anyways,
I, I, I I like the deck a lot, and I also um, speak a lot with Andrea. I think he's a very big expert of this deck, and also, in fact, I talked to him a lot before the Ryder Cup, and I actually played this deck in the Ryder Cup with a little bit of differences. I was not playing red,
mm-hmm.
but in general, the deck was very similar. And I went, I think, 5-2, and the deck is for sure very strong.
Mm-hmm.
He decided to play Azure Drake
Yeah,
and less Serenity Freeze in order not to be hit too much by the seed in a bottle. In fact, I won against him in the Swiss because I was playing double seed in a bottle in my deck between sideboard. And I remember one game when I played a seed in a bottle. He had like, I don't know what, two creatures and two lands. It was like game over. Like, I play this and you were dead. So sometimes it happens and you have to, I mean, take this into account. But overall, I think the deck is incredibly powerful. It's super explosive, and you always have to be afraid of Armageddons and all the powerful cards. He even has the red, so of course it's a little bit more unstable in terms of mana base, but the strength of the deck is absurd
yeah,
because you accept all the colors. You have huge acceleration in five Mox and Sol Ring, Black Lotus, two Felwar Stone, and three Birds of Paradise, which is incredible. Like when I tested his list, I think because my list has one less Mox,
mm-hmm.
but with least like you I cannot count the games where I have four mana on turn two. It's so common. It's very, very common. So having this mana advantage in old school is very powerful.
Yeah,
It's actually one of the most powerful things that you can do. And since the deck is accessing all the colors, uh, he can have very, very strong cards.
yeah,
Now, here we see that he's playing basically all the power cards. We already mentioned that in the creature department, he's playing Azure Drake instead of Serenity Freed. Then what? That he only plays three Swords to Plowshares, which is definitely a choice. Also because he's not playing any Psionic Blasts. But he has a Fireball. Okay. Um, in these decks, I agree with him not to play balance in the main deck.
mm-hmm. Yes,
I do not agree not having balance overall. I think you need such a strong effect in your 75
mm-hmm.
because when you start facing decks like I mean red green and
Yeah,
green terror and all these
exactly.
decks,
Yeah,
balance is too strong. I mean, look at how many rocks you have in this deck. Like you can play a balance and basically destroy your opponent very fast.
yeah.
So I want to access that kind of cards
But
against
maybe inside, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I was playing it in the sideboard. I think it's a very good card. But anyways, he was not playing balance. He's only playing one mana drain and one counterspell, uh, which is uh, normally the average for this kind of deck. I like double counterspell. I think counterspell is when you can power out so fast one of these creatures. Uh, it's I mean, if your opponent doesn't have immediately the answer, you untap, and if you have a counterspell, it's I wouldn't say game over, but it's a very good spot.
Yeah.
So I like more
Yeah.
counterspell. Um, you know that I don't like Silver Library in Old School, but that's my idea. I think Silver Library is a good card against specifically control
Yeah.
because you can basically aggressively take damage against the deck. They cannot punch much,
Yes.
but I definitely
Of
yeah.
course, without fetch lands, Sylvan is worse than Legacy or others format. Of course. But maybe I like it so much in some deck like Twiddlevolt, because with the Howling Mine you can see more card with the combo library and the Howling Mine.
But my main reason when I see a deck is like, okay, you play Silver Library. What is my opponent disenchanting?
Sylvan, of course.
You have literally zero target because if you can see, he's not playing Mishra's Factories,
Yeah.
right? And I agree. Like if you are very committed into the Armageddon plan, and if you see, he's playing three Armageddons main and one Armageddon in the sideboard, and the Birds of Paradise and the Failwar Stones and the like. So I like this plan, but then you don't have any target to disenchant. So if you play Silver Library main deck, it will be disenchanted 100%, and your opponent will be glad to exchange one card for one for this.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't like it here. Whereas it's really powerful in a deck like Trioval, where your opponent has like 30 targets, and
Yes.
all of them are very important, and you cannot disenchant all. So that's the main difference. I like Spirit Link, the one Spirit Link main deck. I think it's really strong for the reason that we were discussing before.
Mm-hmm.
So here you have a lot of targets yourself, including the main one, which is Serenity Befreed. But you can also target your opponent creatures.
Of
So
course. Yes.
I think in these kind of decks with some creatures and I mean Spirit Link is really good when you have your own targets.
Okay.
Whereas if you don't, it's less strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then in the sideboard, I know that Andrea changes a lot in his sideboard every time to try new cards and to see if he can have better interaction. Normally, he told me that he has the third Sarah Angel in the sideboard. Now he hasn't. He tried Triskelion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is for sure a good creature against the Weenie decks.
Yeah.
Uh, and your deck can definitely suffer against the Weenie decks. So I understand the card Triskelion. Um, but I think Sarah for your plan is even more powerful. So um, yeah. Diamond Valley is very, very unexpected, but considering how big are your creatures, this is a nice deck, I think.
Yeah.
He
It's
plays another.
maybe it's nice in the burn matchup.
Yes, yes, it's definitely good. Um, he plays two more Spirit Links.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. He's not playing Copred, which is a card that when you face the blue-red base deck is pretty good. When you face Atog and these kind of cards, is really good, especially because if you see this deck, you are very weak to Atog. Like you don't even have any blue elemental blast in the
Mm.
side.
Yeah.
You basically only have your Swords to Plowshares,
Yes.
and these kind of decks normally play a lot of creatures. And
Maybe you have the spirit link.
yes, but you remember how Spirit Link works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Spirit Link is
Ah, okay,
not
the trigger. Yeah, of course.
Spirit Link is a trigger. So if I play Atog and you are like at 10 life,
You
I
die first. The
yeah,
trigger
basically
of spirit link. Yeah, yeah.
I burn you with the lightning bolt. I
Mm-hmm.
attack you. I eat three Moxens. You take seven. The trigger goes on the stack, but you're dead.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
problem.
that's right.
So
That's right. That's
is
right.
not it's not super good against Atog. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
point.
yeah,
The
yeah.
control mech is nice.
Yeah.
I played them in the Riders Cup as well. I was also playing two preachers, and I think preacher. I suggested these to Andrea, and he agreed with me. I think preacher is really good in this deck
Yeah.
because he said that he was suffering against the Lauter decks and the Stebo decks, and those decks don't play red.
Red
So
lemon.
they don't have lightning bolts, they don't have earthquake, they don't have fireball. So when you play this 1/1, they have to source it. Otherwise, basically you start stealing their creatures.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a good point.
I,
Yeah.
I think that's a good card to have.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
then we have three
I'm
more ice.
thinking. I'm thinking like there are small synergy and touch, like Diamond Valley with Control Magic, so you can
Yeah,
take
right.
a opponent creature, and if you have the Diamond Valley, you can
Yeah,
sacrifice it in response to a disenchant or ebb on Control Magic.
yeah, that's a really good, cool interaction. You can do this with the creature as well. So I like it a lot. I like the Diamond Valley. Unfortunately, I don't own a Diamond Valley. I will not buy one. So, but I think it's a really nice card.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and one card that
That's work as well with the preacher and Diamond Valley.
yes, it's really good. It's really good. But one card that Andrea is normally showcasing is in his deck. Normally both in the sideboard and in the main deck, which is I think very strong in this deck. I was playing one, and he definitely overperformed in the Riders Cup for me. Was Avoid Fate.
Oh wow!
Uh, I think Avoid Fate is super strong in this deck because your creatures are not like Savannah Lions. Your creature, I mean, to kill a Sarah Angel, you don't have many cards. You probably have to swords it. But if I one to one your swords with a one mana spell, then you are probably fucked because all these creatures are very impactful. Like Ernham Jin is probably dominating the board as well as Sarah. So saving them with a single mana is really good.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
It's really good.
Yeah, yeah, it's underrated card, but it's super strong. Void Fate.
Yeah. And then, if I remember correctly, I think Avoid Fate says you should be able to use it on a permanent as well, right? It's
Yeah,
not only creature.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Permanent.
So it can be some strange scenarios where, like, your opponent destroys, I don't know, the what's the name? The Library of Alexandria, and you can
Mm-hmm.
save it, or they can target your Chaos Orb with a disenchant, and you responding with that. So it's a really strong card that people, I think, underestimated.
Yeah.
I was fun, and I suggest everybody to play at least one, at least in the sideboard, like against a deck like the deck. As you probably were mentioning, if you're not playing the Abyss, you don't have many ways to deal with these kind of creatures, right? You
Yeah.
only have your Swords to Plowshares, and when I start trading Swords to Plowshares with one mana spells, then it starts being complicated.
Yeah,
For the control.
a friend of mine, Christian Trinca, tried to play Avoid Fate in his Lotus Man Beast.
Yeah,
a deck with the disc, the beast, and he play bug, so black, blue, and green. And
Yeah.
he had the green for try the some card and they avoid fate too, and it's really strong card
Yeah, it's
because he can save the his disc from the disenchant effect.
yeah, yeah, I agree. It's super strong.
It's super strong and unexpected card.
Yes. Here, what can I say? I think I will also try the versions with red.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm not a huge fan of Fireball in a deck that plays four Armageddons.
Armageddon. Yeah.
So I'm not a huge fan of Fireball, but Red Elemental Blast in this deck is bonkers.
Yeah.
Is so good. I would probably play like two or three in the sideboard because it's so good. Like you have all the powers plus Armageddon, so it's very safe to say that your opponent will want to counterspell everything.
Yeah.
And so the Red Elemental Blast is very good. Very
Yeah,
good.
and for control, I talk as control player. It's really hard to fight with a deck with too many color, too many bombs with different color, and with Geddon, with Red Elemental Blast, with the Black Bomb, the Demonic, the Mindless. It's really hard.
Yes, I think this deck, if played correctly, is really powerful. Of course, the more colors that you want to play, the more you will be subject to Blood Moon. Like for example, you probably only can play one planes in these versions, while I was playing without red and I was playing double planes. So yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's why I would probably play with a one or two blue elemental blast in the sideboard because I fear both Blood Moon and Atog with this deck.
Mm-hmm.
So I like a couple of blue elemental blasts in the sideboard.
Yeah.
And the very good thing about the blue elemental blast in a deck with Fellwar Stone is that a lot of decks that Blood Moon you, they have islands.
Yeah. Yes.
That's the point. So you will get the blue mana from them with Fellwar Stones.
Yes. Yes. That's right.
Yeah, but super congrats to Andrea. I think the
Yeah.
deck is really played very
Supreme
well.
performance, of course. Yes.
It's
Okay.
I'm wondering why he's playing Ice Storm, right? Because Ice
Hmm.
Storm is not a card that you tend to see in a deck that wants to resolve an Armageddon
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of redundant. So if you want to play Armageddon, why would you need Ice Storm?
Oh, maybe to improve the denial plan
I don't know.
in
I
the
don't.
control matchup. Maybe I think.
Yeah, but then I would play probably a second Elemental Blast. Uh,
Yeah, of course, but you have to side out the swords, the spirit link.
I I would be like one of the matches that I lost at the Riders Cup against Giulio,
Mm-hmm.
playing some sort of the deck with Sarah Angels was because I had to take out the. I mean, I
Uh,
didn't have, but I did remove the swords, and I died to a very fast.
I know, but it's a risk you need to take because if you draw a lot of swords with your opponent without creature, you have too many dead cards. So I think this is one point of force of the deck that
Yeah.
can side in the angel when the opponent side out those words. This work very well, but I think this is a risk that a lot of deck need to take to hope to win this kind of match.
Uh, I think so, but I'm not sure that a deck like this, which I believe is one of the decks with the best shot of winning against control. I'm not sure you need to remove all of the swords to plowshare. You probably can afford to keep a couple.
Yeah, maybe one. Yeah.
Yeah, one or two, I think you can keep them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, one or two are few removal if opponent play a Sarah Angel, one or two Sarah Angel, and sometimes when opponent play his Sarah Angel, maybe first he resolves his Mind Twist, so you need to top deck your Sword Plowshare.
Well, yeah, of course. If they mind twist you and then Sarah Angel you, then you're dead. But
Yeah,
that's another.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is why maybe is not so good to keep these words. Because a lot of time this is the pattern of the match. So the control want to resolve the mind twist first and then play the Sarah Angel. I think isn't so good to play Sarah Angel to see opponents word it.
Yeah, I think this is something that I can you can consider. But I mean, if you have more counterspell and hopefully more red elemental blasts, then I mean they have to respect your play on the stack, right? You can fight on spells. So
Yeah,
because one of the ways you can lose a game is trying to resolve mind twist and get mind twisted back or getting Armageddon back. So it's something that the deck player tend to need to do well. But anyways, this is I mean this is a deck, and I think it's one of the, if not the only deck that can be very competitive
yeah.
without playing Emissions Factories.
Oh, of course. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, this is good. You notice this that this deck don't play. Maybe is the only one that not play the Mishra's Factory.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think, I mean, after playing the deck for a 7 turn tournament, I think it's 100% correct.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
because the deck, if the deck is not stuck on colors and can play all the cards, it has so much power. Then you don't need the Mishras,
yeah. Of course.
especially because you want to resolve multiple Armageddons
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
yeah. This
I
is the
can say that
plan.
one of the games that I lost against Andrea during the Swiss, then I won 2-1. But the one that I lost, he resolved three Armageddons against me. So, yeah, I mean, I
Don't wanna close my eyes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I think we are at the end of the deck
Well,
analysis.
huge congrats to Andrea, and for me, the first prize for him is to be obliged to change the images of this deck to show the people,
Yeah, yeah, sorry
especially
for our
because
fan. Come si
yeah,
dice, can you translate for me che abbiamo fatto sanguinare gli occhi alla
yeah,
gente?
our eyes are bleeding for this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know Andrea, and I saw his deck, and his deck is beautiful. A lot of altars, a lot of beta cards.
Yeah,
Like it's a pity that the deck here is so ugly compared to the real one.
the deck is a piece of art.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Matteo. You made the 19% of the of the deck analysis. Okay. Thank you for watch the deck analysis, and maybe we can try to make another one in English.
I mean, we will see if people like it or not. I mean, this is a. I think it's good for the people. I like Machiev, and also I played against an American guy on the
Yeah,
first turn, I think, and I think it's a good way to. I mean, I was super thrilled that our community has foreign people, and I think the since we have I don't know how many community have so many deck analysis every month, so I think it's good for them to be at least accessing some of the content.
and maybe I can learn English well.
Yeah.
Okay.
The more you practice, the more you will be good.
Thank you guys, and see you at the next deck analysis.
Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.